All right, so I got an email from a young lady who sent me a question, and she said, you've given advice to young men about what they should do because I talked about I learned a lot of things, and there's things that I probably could have done better or should have done but didn't do. And this person says, you've done videos about young men and how they need to do different things, get their passport, own land, things like that. What about young ladies? Oftentimes, young women, and she mentions, but women that look like me, or look like my mama, I should say, a lot of times need direction. What would be some things that you would offer or say to someone in my position as far as things that probably we should do? Now, first, let me say that the reason why I haven't covered this before is because I'm not a female, but there are things that I do tell the girl. Thank you for the question, by the way. There are things that I do tell the girls that I really like. I don't tell them what to do or whatnot, but I kind of mention it often, and they kind of already, Zoe especially, kind of already do, and Zara actually, well, actually all three, they kind of actually already do these things, and then I try to encourage it even more, so to speak. One of the things that I think that empowers women, or especially young girls, is knowledge. And that's broad, but knowledge is something that's very important. First thing is STEM. Now, you may not be someone that, and I said this before, you may not be someone that's all about college. You may want to go out and just work instantly. But I would say if you really want some pretty solid sound advice, STEM is kind of where it's at, or STEAM. Okay, so that's science, technology, art, engineering, and math. Any one of those particular tracks are great. Here in this area in Tacoma, there's a lot of different things that actually reach out and, try to get young ladies and young women involved in that type of thing. There's not enough. And when you go to a lot of the big companies around here, you don't see a lot of women in those positions, or even people that look like me in a lot of those positions, right? So that's something that I would say definitely focus on. Now, that's obviously going to require you going into, typically, into college, right? If you're not interested in going to a 4-year college, or getting your master's or your doctorate, um, I would say you definitely probably want to focus on some sort, and this some of these things are going to overlap. You want to focus on some sort of a trade. One of the biggest things that you'll see a lack of, and something that Noelle says she wishes that she knew how to do, is things like plumbing, electrical work, carpentry, bricklayers, brick masons, things like that, roofers. These are things that I think that often are very one-sided. And what happens is that people get taken advantage of. And another one is auto mechanic. You hear often where, yeah, and even Noelle has said this. She'll go to a place and they tell her, well, you need this and this and this, and she's like, I don't know if I really need that. I take a look at the car and I'm like, no, we don't need that. Like, no. Like, one time she took the car in for an oil change, and they're like, well, these belts are worn out and blah 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 blah. You got to replace them. They're going to cost this much, and she was freaking out. And then they said, like, the engine, because there's two pieces that come down on the engine. She said they told her that that was leaking oil and it needs to be fixed, and it's going to cost this amount. And I said, no. I said, those belts are totally fine. Like, and I looked at them and I'm like, they're not gonna, because they were making it sound like they were gonna snap like within the next week or so. And I said no. And literally, the car still was fine. Like, it nothing happened. And the engine thing, I said, that's you're fine. I said there's no issue there. When it comes to tires, different things, and so Noelle doesn't know how to change a tire, but I'm like, I can easily show you. I think I have a long time ago. So she may know how, she may have forgotten. But these are things that I think oftentimes you will find that ladies or some women are not in the know. And that's an opportunity for someone to kind of take advantage of the situation. You know what I mean? So I think the biggest thing, because you hear a lot of people talking about, feminism and this type of thing, and that you have to follow the track of Oprah, and I just disagree. I think that the biggest thing is to empower yourself and be able to do things and check up on someone. So you still may know how to change a tire or change oil or whatever, and then take it to a shop and then be like, once they tell you something, you're like, that's not true because this, that, and the other. Once you can school someone and they know, like, oh, then you can sit there and question a lot of things. Like, oftentimes, they'll change the oil, but not the filter. You know what I'm saying? And you can easily look, and if you know what you're doing, you can look and tell if they've changed it or not. You can check the oil by looking at that. When you take the stick out, you'll be able to look and you can see, right? But oftentimes, like, that's hidden on people, or they don't change it at all and they tell you that they did. They'll change the sticker out. I mean, there's all types of just grimy stuff. It depends on where you go, right? So those are the, I can go on and on and on, but those are some of the things that I would suggest doing, right? The other thing is that if that is not your type of thing either, obviously find a career path that you're going to enjoy, something you're going to really love and that you're going to really like. But I would also go back to the point of investing in land. Land ownership is something that I think should be done. It should be done. And if you're young like you are now, and I go back to the point of, it doesn't matter where the land is. It could be in some state that you probably never even visited before. You can go online, you can find land. Own it. Because that is something that cannot be taken away from you. It adds to your own wealth, your whole net worth, and all of that. One day it may come in handy where you have to use that as some sort of collateral for something else. So those are some of the things I think that people should focus on. Instead of focusing on clothes and everything else that kind of just is not going to be fashionable within the next year, save your money for things that are important, not stuff that's silly. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be plenty of time to be all dolled up or whatever it is that you want to do. But there's not always going to be a time for you to own land and own property, because life gets so complicated as you get older, whether you stay single, whether you choose to get married, whether you choose to do whatever. Life always seems to get a lot more complicated as you get older. I would also go back to something else that I think is often not mentioned, but I think that should be mentioned a little bit more, is to be a mentor. There are a lot of young girls who want someone, and they may not come from the best circumstances, but they're wanting someone to kind of empower them, but do it the right way, not in a toxic way, but in the correct way. And what I mean by that is basically encouragement. I know of someone, and I'm not going to mention their name because I know them personally, who does that. She's amazing. She's amazing. Everything from talking about, natural hair and all this other stuff, and it's important to be proud of it, and this and that, and just other stuff. Like, she's actually young enough to be my daughter. It's crazy because she's 23. It's just insane. But anyway, she sometimes talks to Zoe and the girls, right? She's just very, very cool. You know what I mean? Like, that is something that I think needs to be more of, right? There should be more of that. Because oftentimes I think that we take things for granted and think, well, that's just, everyone has someone that's looking out for them. That's just not true. There's a lot of bad influences, negative influences, and, you find all types of videos all day online talking about things and showing things that really are not appropriate. But you don't have a lot of videos of people saying that, you know what, like, focus on you, focus on improving you. Focus on the things that are going to make you a better person, right? It's not a, I think if you're always at the stand of, and you see this too, where it's kind of this, let's form this little clique of trying to get back at other people or trying to get back at somebody. That's just not the way that it works. And oftentimes what happens is you'll become older, you may become a professional, and you're still with that mindset of, I'm going to always go after people, dudes, other women, whatever, because somebody slighted me or I didn't have a mentor or whatever the case may be. And so you grow up and you get older and it becomes impossible to change that mindset. So I think having mentors and things like that and you being able to do that, because just reading some of the things you listed that I didn't share, some of the other things that you've actually done, such as volunteer work, different things like that. You talk about, Boys and Girls Club, different things, tutoring. Yeah, I think that's something that's very, very important. And finally, one of the things that I would say would be also key is travel. Hold on a second. Okay, have to let the dog in. He was having a fit. But anyway, travel. I think that one of the big things, especially, is getting to know about other people. And I was one of those people where I didn't want to just stay in one place, right? That's something that's different than my sisters. My sisters will never leave where we're from. You know what I mean? They will never venture out much from where we're from. And that to me, and that's fine, that's their business. But I couldn't do that. I have to be able to see different parts of the country because you get to see obviously different things. You get to experience different things. You get to see how other people live. And to me, you can grow from that. You know what I mean? Like you're able to see some things that are so different. You mentioned where you're from, which is in the South. But go to, I guess it's fine to mention you're from Alabama. Go to Florida, go to the Carolinas, which is amazing. Go to the Northeast, go to Chicago, the Midwest. Milwaukee's also awesome. Milwaukee's probably one of the best cities I've been to in the Midwest. Go to, kind of the Mid-South or Upper South, Kentucky, Tennessee, go to Texas, go to Washington State, see how drastically different people are. Spend some time in each place. Go to California, Northern California versus Southern California, way different. Go to those places, go to Oregon, go to the Dakotas, you know what I mean? Like go to these places in this country and see how people are different. Put yourself in an uncomfortable situation. I've done that many a time. Put myself in uncomfortable situations. I put myself in situations where no one in the room looked like me. No one in the room could understand the language because I wanted that. I've been to a church where I think it was a Korean church, or was it Chinese? I can't remember, but this was back in the day before I even met Noelle. In Indiana, I went to it was a Chinese church. Yeah, I was the only person there that looked like me, and I couldn't understand a word. But it was one of the most powerful things I've actually experienced. You have to, I've always believed that. You have to put yourself in a situation where you challenge yourself. That to me is empowerment, right? Then I would, again, the passport. I cannot stress to people how important it is because if you think this country is different in every different area, try going to other parts of the world and see how drastically different things are. You then start to realize that there are some things here in this country that you don't like, and that's not cool. But in many instances, we have it better than other places. In other instances, other places have it better than we do, depending upon the circumstance. You'll understand how similar we all are. No matter where in the world where you go, you will start to see that a lot of the things that I grew up doing and that my family did, people in far away do the exact same thing. Yet people right across the street may be like, what? You'll be surprised. And the fact that we don't have, really, some of us that look like me don't really know exactly where we're from, it's extremely important to go and visit places. It's extremely important. It's extremely important to go to places in Africa. Ghana, for example, a lot of people are going there. A lot. That's one country that I desperately want to go to as well. Right? Visit the west coast of Africa. I knew a guy from Cote d'Ivoire, which is Ivory Coast. He was a cool dude. Awesome dude, actually. And, we were talking about it. I had a professor that would go to Ghana, Accra, all the time. And, he was talking about, you need to come, you need to go, and blah, 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 blah. I didn't do it. This was in college, back in Indiana. I didn't do it. Right? Met a guy, I was taking an Uber, and we were talking about in Lagos, in Nigeria, how they're building Echo Atlantic. And, I said, it's insane. Like, they just basically reclaim land out of the sea, building all this stuff. And he's like, yeah, it's going to be awesome. And, and he's like, he goes back every now and again to visit family. And he's like, it's coming along. It's coming along. It's taking some time. And we were talking about their light rail system that they're doing. And he's like, yeah, it's crazy. It's taken them way too long. Like, we had and he was shocked that I knew that information, right? And it's because I always feel like it's very important to learn about things, not just here. That's easy. Not just from, people, in my own community, but outside of that. You can't, there's not a better education. It was very, and you're able to talk to people, right? I'm able to have that conversation where it's a commonality because he's already here, right? These people that I've talked about are already here. They know kind of what America's about, but you don't know what it's like there. So if you have something that you can kind of talk to them about, it's really, it's a bonus, right? So to me, I think that one of the more important things too is that passport, seeing how money is different, how it works, how, in other places, just because something's listed for $25, doesn't mean it's going to be $25. They might try to sell it for 30, but you can probably talk them down to 15. You know what I mean? So you have to be able to experience that and experience the smells, experience the taste. Sometimes I've seen food and I'm like, it doesn't look that great, but when you taste it, it's like, whew, it's amazing. So, challenge yourself. If anything, challenge yourself. So anyhow, hope you enjoyed this video. Hope I answered your question and gave you some ideas and some of the things I've kind of talked to the girls about and some of the things we're hoping for them to do as well. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, I will see you. Take care.